Okay. All right, here comes the resolution of the arc that we've been waiting the last 39 years of our lives for. The punch is about to land. Oh my god, the camera pans back to the villain, pans back to the hero. The hero's veins are showing up on their neck. His fist is getting swole. His fist is about to land on the villain's face. And let's tell you how we got to where the villain is at now. Pause. No!
What's up, everybody? We are the Niisan podcast, episode 16, hosted by yours truly, Xell and Crim, and with me is my, crime and partner. I always mess this line up. I don't know why. Partner in crime.
Hi, it's me, Crim. I had a burp, if you couldn't tell. Also known as the Asian Avenger, by the way. And so, we just kind of got back from the beach.
Wow!
And
How did we get back? That was so crazy, Crim. That was a wild time.
That was a weird trip to the beach. Very weird. Like it was almost like we were in a garage.
Yeah, it's like almost like
your garage.
Hey, I guess I mean the cat's out of the bag. We already told how it was, but glad to be back in the comfort of our own green screens.
I was ready for you to say, I'm glad to be back in the comfort of my own home.
Yeah, that too. I mean, I generally don't stay in the garage. So.
But that was solid. And so this week, though, is a little bit different, right? I mean, last week we kind of talked about filler episodes and things that we did enjoy, right? Like those were fun, solid like shows and well-written things that kind of made it seem like it wasn't a slog or anything like that. But this week, we're going to go over things that are a little more miserable.
More miserable than a filler episode?
Like, yeah, as if it were like a filler episode, but it was bad and filled with lots and lots of tropes.
Tropes.
Or it should be like tropes. Like terrifying.
Well, I guess I know, like, when people talk about tropes, the initial thing, I guess kind of similar to filler episodes, is like your initial instinct is to think of like the negative side of things, and like
right.
And we definitely are going to talk about some of the negative tropes or whatnot, but that isn't to say that all tropes are necessarily bad. And actually, most of the time, tropes just means that there's just a pattern of X thing that exists across anime. It's not like it's this thing that as soon as a trope exists, it means it's bad, because that's not true. That's 100% not true. And
because we'll have stuff on here on this list for the most part. I think that'll have kind of like its good counterpart along with its bad, right?
Yeah. So, but specifically today, we're talking about tropes that grinds our gears. So
yeah. And so, but before we go into that, I think we've got some news to go over.
Oh yeah.
And this week, there's some really good news. I think this is the boomer in me, because I don't think Xell is anywhere in the ballpark of like even remotely excited. But Blade Runner. So for those that watched Blade Runner 2049, and a little animated short that was done not too long ago, I think about like 5 years ago, also on Crunchyroll. Blade Runner Black Lotus, not only am I a Magic player, so I love Black Lotus, unveils its cast members of its show. And it's going to be an Adult Swim and Crunchyroll conjunction on this like project, right? And I mean, Xell informed me of some bad news on that, like how that could have some like bad repercussions. So, but I'm just gonna try to like ignore it and ear it out, so that this way I can still enjoy it without worrying. Why you gotta be the stick in the mud?
Be excited about it. I'm just saying that Crunchyroll Productions also holds the record for the bottom 2 most disliked anime on my anime list. That's all. Which is, by the way, it's X-Arm and Gibeat. So.
Yes. See, now that you brought that up, I'm like kind of sweating a little bit. Like the hype that I had like about an hour ago was like, yeah. And now it's like, yeah, asterisk. Like hold. But so the thing here is like the last time we saw this animated short, it was just a one-off episode, right? A 30-minute, 20-minute episode. This looks like it's going to be in the franchise, and it's going to be multiple episodes, right? And it's this show is going to be run by the person who did the last animated short, who's director of Cowboy Bebop. So Like, they've already got their hands dipped into the world of sci-fi and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see what becomes of Blade Runner Black Lotus here, because the world that they did, that Ridley Scott built in the original Blade Runner was absolutely mind-blowing, amazing, and kind of like what has inspired a lot of, like, you know, the cyberpunks and things like that today, right? The Hotline Miamis, all of that. And then 2049, which came out, like, I think, like 35 years after the original came out, is probably one of the best movies I have ever seen, like, in like the recent, like I would say the last 20 years, right? Like, cinematically and everything, it's good. It's slow as hell, so if you're looking for Star Wars, this is not that. But the thing here is, it looks good, and if this show is able to expand on the, like, you know, how the last movie ended, or give us a little more of the world, I'm here for that. So I am very excited to see what this show brings. I'm a little bit, you know, worried, because I feel like this is one of those things where it's a really beloved franchise, and if this is, like, supposed to be canon and all of that, like, I hope they really flesh out the script here and how they write it, because I'm very curious where this takes place and where in the storyline it all takes place.
Is Blade Runner like a vampire thing? I don't know.
No, okay, goddamn. No. No, it isn't, Xell.
Thing about Blade Runner. I'm trying to, like, vaguely remember anything I know about Blade Runner, and I was like, I thought there's, like, a guy with a long katana and he's, like, drinking blood, so I just assumed he's like a vampire or something.
Are you sure you're not thinking of just Blade?
Oh, maybe I'm just thinking of Blade.
I want you just to, like, your own home project here, okay? Your own homework. I want you to watch Blade, and I want you to watch Blade Runner, or whichever order, and I want you to tell me how close they are. If you can draw comparisons, and heaven forbid you try to tell me that Blade Runner is a vampire story, I would love to hear it. But yes, so for all the people that are excited for sci-fi and all things like that, this is going to be a solid show, and one that I am I'm very eagerly waiting, and it's coming out, like, very soon this year in 2021 later, and it's going to premiere on Adult Swim and all that. So I'm here for it. I'm excited.
Yeah.
What else? And then now the next bit of news.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna go a little back in time here, because rather than it being a futuristic non-vampire story about a guy with a blade and blood that's not actually there, instead it's gonna be Vikings. Vinland Saga announced a season 2, so I think that's pretty exciting for people who watched season 1, because IMO season 1 was like a 10 out of 10 show. It was one of my favorites of that entire year, and the Vinland Saga has now cemented itself as, like, one of my favorites. And now we get a second season, and I know from what people have said from the manga side of things, people are pretty excited, I think, and people are saying that, like, this is another good arc from the original. So I hope that just means good things. I don't actually know if they announced who is doing it. I hope it's, again, Wit Studio, who did season 1. And yeah, I know, I don't like Vikings. Like, I've never been a person to be like, yes, me as a 5'7" Asian guy really is in tune with this inner Viking. Like, no, Vikings mean nothing to me. But I don't know. How about you, Crim? Does Vikings evoke any deep feelings?
I've seen Thor, the comic book version. I like that one, and that's as close as I think I get. Other than that, it's like I purchased Kaldheim booster packs from Magic.
Ooh, that's pretty close. That's like awakening your vampire, or not vampire, Viking blood. Everything's just a vampire now.
You're already trying to make everything a vampire story, so you need to cut it out, right? And the thing here is, that's exactly why I haven't watched Vinland Saga, and I know it's probably a crime, because, you know, it's not just you. Lots of people say this show is really good, but something about just Viking aesthetic and all that just doesn't excite me. So I've kind of just put it off.
You're watching that Baron show about the guy who can't touch people, or, you know, whatever. Like, yeah, you've got the time.
Dude.
You could just see, dude. Just replace that time with a little Viking. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
tell me
like
how
that.
you really. Actually, you did tell me how you really feel. So.
Okay, but to get to the topic at hand, we are going to be talking about tropes that kind of grind our gears, and I guess how do we want to do this? We'll just go back and forth. We both developed a short list here, and honestly, the thing is that when I was making this list, it's kind of hard because a lot of tropes are not necessarily bad on their own, but in the context of the show that they're in, they can become bad. But I did think that we found a couple of ones that were like, yeah, these are just kind of bad. So
Yeah, there's
at least some of the ones we picked.
I'm sure some of these you can probably, if you're listening or watching right now, you can probably piece together on your own, and you know exactly what some of these are. But some of these, you know, maybe you don't. And we're gonna see if we can tie a few of these to some animes that you may love, or maybe we don't. I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah, like, so the thing here is, why don't you lead us? Just, you know, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. What grinds your gears, Xell, when it comes to tropes?
So this is something that, like, I feel like recently has started to really grind my gears, and that's just characters that generally use sexual harassment as like a humor thing. Like, haha, we're supposed to laugh and have fun when someone gropes each other, you know, accidentally or purposely, or thinks about it. And so, like, I think of the first character that came to mind here was from My Hero Academia, Mineta. His name is literally Grape Rush, his hero name, and I'm just like, really? Grape Rush? Have you seen that Whitest Kids You Know skit? Do you know what I'm talking about, Crim?
No, I've heard the band White Boy Alive or something like that. I think that's the name of the song. Or
well,
band.
There's a skit. They're basically YouTube skit makers from a long time ago. And they had one where they were like, yeah, we've got a new school mascot called the Graper. He's going to grape the kids. And
oh, God. Like, oh, yeah. I do remember this. Oh, Lord.
And then they literally make Mineta Grape Rush. I was like, oh, my God. You can't be serious with that hero name. So anyways, he sucks, by the way. Like, Mineta he's terrible.
Sucks.
He's just actually the worst. And, like, nothing about him is redeeming. And that makes it actually harder for me to stomach this character, is that, like, it's not like some beloved character that it's attached to. He's just a creepy little kid who wants big mommy milkers in his face all the time. So, and like the thing that just kind of bugs me about it is just that I feel like we've gotten to the place in 2021 where we can be like, yeah, maybe groping and like fantasizing out loud to people and like being weird and a creep like that maybe shouldn't be like something that we go, ha ha, that's just Mineta over there. He just wants to grape people, you know, like
What?
And so that's some like a character archetype that like I really, really dislike. And kind of similarly to even if it's not like the central theme to the character, just when shows have those kind of moments. And I think recently Mushoku Tensei was a show that, like, okay, man,
boy.
Look, I get it. The main character is not supposed to be like your typical good guy, I don't know, Tanjiro from Demon Slayer type of character, but also at the same time, just like laughing off like bits of what generally you would consider as just like sexual harassment or assault or whatever is just not my favorite thing. And I guess also to talk kind of branching out from this too is like I also really dislike Tamaki from Fire Force, and I know that she's not groping people and it's generally very much the reverse. It's just like I just don't think that it's like a fun character archetype. And like I guess Tamaki is again a bit different than what I just mentioned, but like just all these things just feel like they just exist to give horny teenagers something to dream about. And like I don't know. I actually really, with Mineta, I really don't understand. Like I don't know if somebody is out there watching Mineta as a character, I'd be like, haha, I love that guy.
That guy is my favorite. That's my boy, Mineta. No. Yeah, I don't see Mineta, I don't know, Magneto. The thing here is,
he does have magnet powers, kind of.
Kind of, right? But just like with weird grape. Okay, but yeah, like I think that character is just always bringing down every scene he's in, right? In My Hero, I'm just like, please, can we skip over that character? Please, can we stop seeing that character? Like, just delete him. I wouldn't even care if you just didn't bring him back and you don't explain why. So, like, I just was not a fan of him, and he is very problematic. And granted that, you know, like you'd be like, yeah, but you guys are just being old boomers, yada yada yada. It's like, no, we've grown up with a lot of anime, and I think at this point in 2021 we can do without those characters, right? And I mean, I don't know. I mean, like on the topic of specifically the Fire Force character Tamaki, I get why people don't like some people like, oh yeah, just remove her from the show, right? Because like she doesn't actually do much, but at the same time, I don't know. I guess I've gotten used to seeing her, so in a weird way, I think I might have been conditioned to not just care as much. Because, like, she's not, like, my favorite character by any means. I do like when she's on scene with, like, Juggernaut and stuff like that. Because I think they're cute. But, like, other than that, I think that, yeah, like, a lot of, like, the sexual harassment stuff that, like specifically Mineta is, like, very common and very problematic. So, not a fan of that kind of character. Like, not that intense.
And I'm not saying, like, anime has to be like Puritan and everybody must praise Jesus and keep space around. Like,
right.
It's not.
I mean,
like,
I watch
humor,
fan servicey shows.
Yeah, and like sexual humor is funny. Like to me, and everything. Like one of the shows that I enjoyed a lot of moments of was Ishizoku Reviewers. Like that show is entirely just sexual humor, but like it's done through the lens of consent for the most part, and like I think that's sort of. The main thing there is that like I still feel I haven't watched the entire show, so maybe somebody points something out that I missed. But the stuff that I had seen, I was like, well, I get it. It's a show about sex, and like they delve into it, and it's funny, and I thought it was great. But yeah, characters like Mineta just grind my gears. So
yeah, and so like for me, something that has been grinding my gears in that same way recently has been like Tsunderes. I'm all for the baka baka, yada yada yada. Right? I've seen my fair share of Tsunderes, right? But I think it's gotten to the point now where every show doesn't even try. Like I'm pretty sure they'll like the dialogue from every character that's a tsundere on every new show that's come out has just been copy pasted and just like, all right, just replace the name of whatever character. Like, no. Shinji, this is not what I think you like. You know what I mean? Like they're all so cookie cutter and they're all the same now. It's not even like charming anymore. It's starting to just get annoying, right? And I don't know if you could say like, well, that's because you've been just watching anime too much. But like, I think that legitimately these characters aren't even like creatively written in now. Like I'm okay with Tsunderes. It's not like Tsunderes shouldn't exist ever. I guess my problem is that right now every show has one and they're not even trying to make them any more different than any of the previous ones. Mm-hmm. So like the only thing that's changed are their hair colors. Right? And like and even then, it's almost always the one with the pigtails, right? Like the two pigtails, and they're usually brunette or redhead, and they're always pissed, and they always like cause
they always have the short skirt with the stockings, like
yep, and they're always angry. Like, look, I love Taiga, and like Toradora. I'm a fan of Asuka, but this is like at this point now, you are the Safeway brand or whatever local market Target brands, but like you're like 9. Like times removed from that brand. So you're like the Target brand of the Target brand of the Target brand of the Target brand. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're so watered down by now. Like when it comes to all these like new like tsundere characters. And it's just, yeah, that's my problem. I don't think they're written like they're not charming. They're just angry and upset and they're just there to say baka and that's it.
It's funny because a lot of the figurines that I have are of Tsunderes or people who would fall into that. But I will say that the ones that I've chosen
shoves all of his like figurines off the desk. Yeah, man, they suck.
Yeah. I've never liked them.
Yeah, they're weird.
Okay, so let me explain myself. I have Makise Kurisu from Steins Gate, and she's wonderful because she's not just a tsundere. She's smart, and she's caring, and she's smart and capable, and, whatever, okay, Crim? And then I have Senjo Gahara, who's also very witty and smart, and she's also really scary, and she's really,
caring
caring. And then... Okay, well, the third one, I don't really have an excuse for it. She's literally the character that you just talked about. Iriri Sawamura. She has pigtails.
Okay.
And what I just said, skirt and long stockings, and she's just really angry. But she's better than most tsunderes. Okay.
Now, to be fair, right? Like, okay, I will give a pass. Like, example. I'll give a pass on, like, obviously Asuka's great, right? These characters are great because they were kind of like the original Tsundere, right? Like
The OG.
They were, yeah, like they were still being written in a different way. Like the character type was still like, you know, the one we know of, but it's written in a different way, and it was tasteful. Like there's lots of things where how we had mentioned earlier where tropes, they can still be enjoyable, they can still be tasteful, they just have to be done well. And now I just feel like how most of them are just very lazily written.
Yeah. I feel that way just in general with like harem shows, I guess, where it's like main character, you have guy who his fundamental trait is that he works hard. And then it's like, okay, girl number one is always childhood friend who is very caring and sweet but can never say her feelings. Behind number two is the tsundere girl. 3 is like the weirdo girl that the main character will never fall in love with, but she always comes into weird situations with the main character. You know, like every it feels like every harem has like that character, these characters, and like they can feel very, very repetitive after a while.
But the thing is, tsunderes have started to kind of just go into every genre, right? Like I feel like I see them in every show now. And I don't know if they're just starting to blend together, right?
They're like the isekai of girls.
Yeah, like they really are though. Like, good lord, they're in everything and they're just yelling "baka" at everyone, and you know what I mean? Like, it's like, come on, give me
it's not like I like you or anything.
Yeah, maybe I'm the biggest Cinder. It's not like I don't like these characters. No, like I mean, I think these characters just need to be done with more love, and that's right now. I'm not saying like the whole trope itself is bad. Once again, it's fine. Just give me something a little more tasteful, I guess.
Who's the latest tsundere that like made you like feel like this, I guess?
Let's see if we can figure this out here. Well, let me see. I'm just gonna click from the seasons because I know I don't have to look that hard, right? Like I'll just go to a season and I'll find one. Spring season. Okay, so we already have right off the bat. Well, I guess. She's kind of no. Hold on. I was gonna say there's some from Iruma, but they're like I guess they're not that bad. I don't know. Like she's more of like tsundere on the like but like also mixed with a few others. Like she's also just like this really really like she's kind of this culmination, this Voltron of like you know like the tsunderes and stuff and the yanderes. So actually. Last season, I don't know if we had one. I think it's just, it feels like I've seen so many recently, and I just probably block them out of my, like, you know, like my mind, right?
Or maybe like, you're coming around on Tsunderes, Crim.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Just in that time, I've started to, like, fall in love with them, and they're the greatest. No, like, I don't know. I'm trying to see if I could find the seasons with it, but I'll eventually remember one as we continue to go through the episode.
Gotcha. I'll go on to mine. Another trope that is kind of in a similar bucket. You know how we just talked about like there are character archetypes that just kind of get old for me. For me, that the main character being just like super pitiful all the time is a character that I just don't really enjoy. It's like it's always the same thing where it's the loner kid at school who doesn't get along with anybody, doesn't have any friends, and but then after some sort of incident, everyone finds out that he's actually the nicest person ever, and like and everyone starts to like him.
Yeah.
And
so
like most recently, Tokyo Revenger's main character made me feel this way, where I'm just so sick of that guy in a show where everybody's so badass, including his old middle school girlfriend is just way cooler than him and way out of his league. Like, and he's just this like sniffling guy. And like, I feel like a lot of these characters play into this sort of like nice guy fantasy. And I don't know. I'm just like, they should have something besides just that, oh, yeah, they're really nice. And I guess what's a little bit more redeeming about the Tokyo Revengers kid, I forgot his name.
Takamichi?
That's right, Takamichi. He at least is like someone who tries really hard. And that's like usually the other side of that main character is like they're really quiet, nobody is friends with them, but they try really hard and they're really nice. There's real nice guys. And,
nice guys.
and they just needed their chance to really showcase that. And I guess also with Nagatoro, that main character too, is also just like relentlessly bullied by this girl, but like can't ever speak up for himself. And I understand.
Does.
So the thing is, I understand that these characters exist so that they eventually change. And but the problem was that they're so unilaterally kind of like miserable to look at that they just feel sort of like caricatures of misery, and I feel like they become really bland as a character as a result. And there are, just kind of like what we talked about with Tsunderes, there are characters that I feel like are in the same bucket that are done particularly well, like Oregairu. I love Hachiman from that show because while he exhibits a lot of things I just said, right, like he's a guy who is a loner, doesn't have friends, but everyone knows that he's really nice. Like the way he goes about it is so interesting, and that's what makes him such a captivating character to me, because it's not just that he's really nice and he tries hard. It's like his whole worldview is kind of interesting and complex, and like and something that, like, he's not pitiful in the traditional way where you're just like, oh, poor guy doesn't have any friends. It's like, oh, you're kind of like messed up, but like I kind of understand why that you kind of came out this way. And as he kind of grows as a character, you're like, okay, that's cool to see that, like, while he was super jaded, he sort of opens up and becomes like a better person for it. Like, I enjoyed that character so much, even though it's in this bucket. And then, like, if we're talking about like OG pitiful main characters, like, you know, Shinji is like the classic example, right? And like
the original cryboy.
Yeah, he's literally the OG emo kid that everyone couldn't stand as the main character, because you're just like, I remember as a kid I was like, bro, I get that you have daddy issues, but you get to literally save the world in a giant robot, man. Like, suck it up, take one for the team. but
I can't.
but dad doesn't love me, and I get it. And you know, that was me when I was younger. I think now that I'm older and I rewatched Evangelion a little bit, I was like, oh, okay, I can see why it's a little more complicated than that. But yeah, I feel like Shinji definitely is like the OG of that character. And then since then, I feel like we've seen so many like versions of that kind of character. And
yeah,
I don't know, man. Is it wrong for me to just want a main character that like has better traits than just is a nice guy? Like, I don't know.
Okay, first off, let me clarify here. I think Takemichi isn't that bad.
Oh,
I don't think he's that bad. I think the fact that he, first off, even like he, and in that moment in the last episode, and he's like, I want to take over, you know, the Tokyo gang, right? Manji gang. Like, I'm like, yo, this is sick, right? Like it when he said that, I was like, okay. I mean, I know they're eventually going to build into something better, right?
Yeah.
But like but after like how much of a bum kind of he was, like a loser, right? Like yada yada yada. He finally, I don't know. I felt good seeing him like finally make that progress. And I guess I'm not as hard on these characters as I am. Well, like example, like if I were to ask you, would you rather have an OP main character or like a sad boy character? And if you're to ask me, I would rather have a sad boy character, and I want to see him get not sad. Because I mean, you can't dial back the power, right? Like, I mean, like unless what, Mirio or whatever, you lose all your abilities or something. Like, I don't know. I don't like the super OP like mains now, which is why example like okay, Jujutsu Kaisen, you have the OP side character. That's fine. But like, see, like there's a lot of shows where I think the problem, like I could see why you wouldn't like the whiny characters, is just because it can feel like it's dragging, and that's why it comes down to the pacing of the show and how much of it they're forcing you to sit through. Because I don't get me wrong, I was getting to that point though where I'm like, okay, Takemichi, this is episode 12. You gotta like at least show me that you half progressed. Come on now, give me something. Like, you know, like a half a space. Just move half a space. Okay, I want to believe, right? I want to believe. Give me a reason, and he did. So luckily, but there are some shows where you don't see any progress for like 18 episodes, 19 episodes. Where it's not until like and then in season 2 you can now see him actually do stuff. So I understand definitely why you could be very annoyed and like deterred by animes with like annoying sad boys.
Yeah, I could talk about Takemichi for a long time because like yeah. Anyways, I'm also glad, by the way, that it seems like finally he's trying to get his crap together to actually be impactful himself. And like for me, the iconic episode for me with Takemichi was just when he's all strutting around being like, yeah, I'm all that, I'm all that, and I was like, oh my god, I cannot.
And he gets called out, right? By like
yeah, thankfully he gets called out, but like,
yeah,
that's just generally how I feel when I see him. It's like that's the character that I see. So, anyways, that's the character archetype I dislike.
I guess like when I see Takemichi, I think of when, you know, like Draken and Mikey fight and the turd flies onto his head. And I'm just like, yo, there's a turd in your head. I'm like, yo. But okay. So like, yeah, like the sad boy, pitiful main character, that kind of stuff that's like constantly suffering is a trope. I can definitely see why people wouldn't like it. And then I think another one that I have a big issue with, like as we're moving down here, are like Shotacon, Lolicon.
Oh, you know, God.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Hey, you know, like I'm hanging out with a bunch of like 11th grade, like, you know, like high schoolers, and I'm like 40. You know what I mean? So I like example, some characters that I think that are pretty problematic are like Hisoka from Heart Hybrid. Or, not Heart Hybrid. That's just a terrible show, by the way. That's another bad show, but that's like all fan service. So not Hunter x Hunter. So Hunter x Hunter, I enjoy the show. I think it's good. I just think Hisoka's creepy as hell. Like he's always near gone and he's always doing weird stuff, and it's got like this real creepy like pedo bear, you know, labelless white van vibe, right? So I despise that. Like why do these characters just keep showing up? And it's like are they
they're
funny?
hot,
like,
Crim, and when you're hot, you can do anything.
Is the clown guy hot? Is that like a unanimous decision?
I just heard the voices of a million Fujoshi out in the wild who all just like gasped when you just said that. Is Hisoka hot? If you did, you should do a Twitter poll. I'm so curious. Is Hisoka hot? And I guarantee you it's going to be overwhelmingly yes. But he's creepy.
Dude, he's so creepy. I just don't know how. How, like why, right? Like I don't know. I mean, he at least like example Pegasus in Yu-Gi-Oh, he had the you know, the super Shotacon vibes when like the English dub when he would talk, but he was never like, "Hey Yugi, I got your grandpa over here. Why don't you come sit with me?" You know what I mean? Like but Hisoka was just, I don't know, man. Like the things that he would say, the way he'd phrase them, and it's just like from the get-go. Like when they run into him in the tournament or not in the tournament, but you know what I mean, like the trial part running up the hill in season 1. Yeah. Just right from the get-go, he's already creepy, dude. Like he needs to kill like chill out. He needs to chill out. He
like in the context of Hunter x Hunter, I understand that he's meant to be like power sexual, right? Like he's like sexually attracted to the idea of somebody who is powerful, right? And I get that, but because they intermingle that with Gon, who is like very clearly like this, essentially like a 10-year-old kid. Yeah. It's like, okay, dude, like, did you really have to make that boundary? And like, I remember a scene where he's like walking behind Gon and he's just like fucking licking his lips. He's like,
yeah, dude. And I'm just like,
he's like, I don't know about that one.
And like example, another recent one is like the Matador of Love from Skate.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Isn't he like 30 or something like that? Like and what's the Canadian snowboarder? I forgot all their names.
I mean, he's in high school, right?
Yeah, like isn't he like in high school, like a sophomore or something like that? It's like, oh boy, we're getting some serious creeper vibes right now, and I don't know how I feel about that. So yeah, and then that's not even talking about like then there's like the lollies, because I'm putting like these characters along with the lollies, and it's just this weird sexualization of like an older person and, you know, a younger person, like a really young person. And I think that's kind of awkward, and it's actually a little more than awkward. It's really gross. So
man.
you see it in like what? What's the most recent one from the past season? Well, actually, this may sound familiar because I think there's one like every 2 seasons. The businessman falls in love with the high school girl.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and the high school girl is like maybe like a sophomore, and the businessman's like 40 and something like that, right? And then you also have like, oh, good Lord, I mean this show, like, I know this is like a beloved show by a good amount of people. No Game, No Life. This show hits every red flag when it comes to tropes for me, and like, I just, good Lord, it has them all, and I think this show is very weird, and you'll see why, because I've got some other topics on here, and you're gonna be like, well, just think about No Game, No Life, and that's the final note I'll need to give you, and you'll know exactly all my tropes that I hate.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, again, it's like No Game, No Life. People like it because of sort of like the Death Note game thing, but then it's like, well, also the main character seems to be actually in love with his sister, and also his sister is very much an underage girl, and not just like underage, like near 18, like 10-year-old, like very much prepubescent, and that, like, literally the definition of lolly, and it's like, okay, alrighty.
We need to like legitimately stop with that. I know this topic comes in cycles all the time.
Yeah.
And the progress meter on it stays the same, right? Because I know that this is something that's gonna just, it's because like, well, there's a cultural difference, it's different there. It's a cartoon, yada yada. No, no, come on, seriously. As an adult, as a functioning adult, can you honestly say that to me with a straight face and expect me to like take your answer seriously?
Yeah, it's surprising to me how like accepted loliconism is in the anime community, like just broadly online. It's pretty scary the way some people sort of like debate this, and that's a topic for another time, because that's a heavy one, and I'm not sure if this was the intended. That's a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just crazy, and like, I do think the anime community does have like a lolly problem.
There is definitely a lolly problem. There's so much lolly / Shotacon problems, like all throughout the shows, in the mangas I read and stuff like that. I'm just like, okay, all right, we're not gonna watch or read this anymore. So like, yeah, but like, what about you? What else are some other things that you just cannot stand in the world of anime?
Okay, I'm gonna lighten things up from sexual harassment, underage, boys and girls. So one of the things that always bugged me back in the day when I would stay up late to watch Inuyasha on Adult Swim was the little Tanuki character that Inuyasha is always hanging around with, like the little orangey fur ball. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was like his pet or a gerbil or something like that.
I mean, essentially, but he talks and he explains things.
Yeah.
But that's what I realized that whole character is just there for. He's just there to stand on the offsides to explain. And so I don't know if this is an actual term, but this is what I've always called it, sidesplaining, where like there's always that person on the sidelines who has to like explain everything that's going on. And it's always just so dumb to me. Look,
Xell, what are you trying to say about all of Yu-Gi-Oh here? Okay, I love that show. All right, so I am taking this personally right now.
It's also every sports anime.
Kaiba's got all 3 of his blue eyes, and when he uses his polymerization, that's when Blue Eye's ultimate dragon comes down and his 5,000 attack power. You're like, oh, that is everything. Like, that's Tristan, right? Like, that's Tristan.
Tristan is the sidesplainer. Yeah, his only existence is to sit there on the side being like, okay, so he played his 3rd Blue Eyes White Dragon, which means now he can use polymerization to combine all 3 of his Blue Eyes White Dragon for an ultimate Blue Eyes White Dragon. And with that, he's going to have the upper hand against Yugi. Oh, no.
It's way more drawn out, and I feel like oh my god, you're right. Animes have those characters, and they just, oh my god, they kill so much time.
Yeah. Like I didn't need to, and like sometimes too is like Yuki's like, I'm gonna play Pot of Greed and draw 2 cards, and then Tristan's like, yeah, so he played Pot of Greed, which drew him 2 cards, which means that he gets to put 2 additional cards into his hand from his library. It's like, bro, we got it.
Wow, Tristan, are you sure that you can draw 2 cards with that? It's me,
that's why
Joey.
He played Pot of Greed. It's like, oh my god, it just gets it like like they sometimes kind of like loop themselves, and that's when I just lose it with those characters. And I was like, dude, we get it.
The Tristan loop is Hall, man. You know, I feel like actually every character that isn't Yugi or Kaiba is that character in Yu-Gi-Oh!
And the thing is that this character exists everywhere, right? Like in Haikyuu, when they're like, oh my God, he's on a fast break. He's about to spike the ball. And then they cut to the audience member and some guy's like, what does that mean? What does spike mean? It means he's going to jump up really high and he's going to try to hit the ball down at an angle to score a point. It's like, okay, dude, like... it's fine if it was like the first time we've seen volleyball ever, but like after a while, like I feel it. I guess my general problem with sidesplaining is that it usually interrupts the flow of the story, and it's completely against like what people call like, you know, show don't tell. Because when a sidesplainer exists, they're telling, not showing. They're just there to contextualize. And sometimes I feel like that contextualization could be done in a way that doesn't require somebody to literally have to spell it out to you on the sidelines. So
I forgot how much I absolutely despise that, dude. Like, and it's even more prominent now than ever. And I mean, like, it's super prominent in Western media. It's like, there's no mystery. It's like, and so that is why character does X, Y, and Z because he needs this, this, and that. And then it's just like, but wait, I liked, you know, figuring things out for myself. Like, imagine if just like the director told you scene by scene everything that's going on in like Donnie Darko or something like that, right? And it's just like, oh God, dude, come on, man. Just let me watch the movie. And these characters do exactly that. They leave nothing to your imagination. They hold your hand the whole... I hate stories that have hand holding to that level.
Mm-hmm. And like I just think about some of the most epic fight scenes in anime. Like, can you imagine Demon Slayer? He's about to use his fire stance, and somebody on the sidelines like, okay, so he learned from his memories of his dad that he can actually invoke fire, and he's about to do that. So, like, it just ruins the flow, and like that scene would not have been the same if there was a sidesplainer.
There are two characters. Two shows that have a sidesplainer though that I am down for. We've talked about the negatives, but I can point out two positives.
All right, hit me with it.
Was it Present or something Mike in My Hero Academia? Because they used it, and they kind of the same way. The commentator during the entire Dark tournament of Yu Yu Hakusho, she was like the kind of like the raccoon girl in the yellow tape. That works because they're kind of like building the tension. They're kind of doing a play-by-play. You know what I mean? They're doing the play-by-play of the fight. So like it just feels authentic, right? In that scenario, it works.
Yeah.
And again, only in that scenario, it works.
Like, the thing is that sidesplaining has its time and place, right? Because like you can't always convey the depth of which is happening only solely through showing you. So like I understand when you have to get to a point where you like have to tell, but like, man, Inuyasha, that dub of that character is appalling to listen to because you're just like, we don't need that information, man.
I haven't watched Inuyasha, the English dub, or actually just any of it since I saw it on Toonami or whatever.
Yeah, same actually.
So if I go back now, I wonder how I'd feel about the show if I watched it dubbed.
I know, right?
Look, yes, the sidesplainers, good lord, I'd forgotten how common those are in the animes until you brought that up right now. Like, dude, they are so annoying. Excuse me, I had to burp again. But on top of that, right? So, like, I think there's another issue that I have, and I think another one of the tropes for me is, well, flashbacks.
Yes.
Dude, like, okay, for everyone at home, you know exactly what we're talking about, right? You've seen the anime. Okay, all right, here comes the resolution of the arc that we've been waiting the last 39 years of our lives for. The punch is about to land. Oh my god, the camera pans back to the villain, pans back to the hero. The hero's veins are showing up on their neck. His fist is getting swole. His fist is about to land on the villain's face. And let's tell you how we got to where the villain is at now. Pause. No! What are we doing? Why? And this is one of the most common things that I see in every shonen show. And it's actually just in any kind of action show. And it can be done, but like every time we do this, it's always in these poor spots that are poorly placed for no reason. I don't even think it makes sense. Like, I don't care how they got here right now. I don't need their backstory. The only person that I've been able to tolerate this from is Tanjiro when he slays demons and stuff like that. And it's because I get it. He's sentimental, so he wants to get to know the demon. That's Tanjiro. I don't need to know how Shigaraki or whatever Mr. Hands on his face. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, like, in the manga, I hear like stuff like that. Like, there's just so many things and so many animes where that happens, whether it's in like Dragon Ball and all these shonens, and they're all there. They're very prominent, and it's in every show because the flashbacks, I feel like they can be done tastefully, but they never are. And I'm trying to think of like shows that actually have decent flashbacks, and like there are some, but like, dude, I don't know. These flashbacks just feel like almost like a filler episode, if you would.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, both of these tropes that we just mentioned, sidesplaining and the flashbacks, I feel like their intended use isn't for our enjoyment. It's just to like save animation budget.
Yeah.
We need to fill 23 minutes for this episode. We're at 19. All right, insert a cutscene where they hark back to something. And I think
my
the ones
blood is boiling thinking about that right now. You know what? Yeah, exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
19 minutes of the same thing we've seen. And here's one, like 30 seconds of the storyline finally progressing, and then cut next week.
That's like the eternal Dragon Ball loop. I mean, seriously though, like so 23 episodes. You have the opening and the ending, which are almost always the same. So that's 3 minutes gone, and then you have the a preview thing, which is going to be another like 30 seconds, or to a minute. And then you have like the initial flashback to start off the episode. And then you're like, oh, okay, so now what was a 23 episode is starting to look like a 17-minute episode. And it just keeps shrinking. Oh, there's an interstitial in the middle. Okay, that's another 30 seconds off. And it's just like, oh my God, please, why are you doing this? I think the thing that kills me too with flashbacks is like, when they flash back to something that happened in the same episode, I'm like, oh, damn,
my Lord.
Damn, they really think that we just all cannot remember anything. I mean, maybe they're not wrong.
Yeah.
It does feel really egregious when they flash back to something that happened like literally 5 minutes ago.
I think My Hero's done that. Actually.
It wouldn't surprise me. It's like there's so many shows just
recently
do that.
Yeah, like, oh wow, like we know we were just there. It was like actually 2 seconds ago. We know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe that. I don't know. I mean, okay, if I were to ask for a flashback, right? Like, this is a way that, yeah, sure, there's a lot of bad ones, but I think if you were to ask me how I would enjoy my flashbacks, I think you do it a flashback, but in the way that it's a prequel, that I haven't seen any of this. I don't mind if we're jumping to a previous point in the storyline. You can take me to a previous point in the storyline, but give me it from a different angle. You know what I mean? Give me that, and please don't use the exact same scene. Older animes used to like literally just use the same scene, start it over, loop it, just keep doing it over and over as the character talks over that.
Yeah.
So like, just don't do that. But if you want to take me back to a point where, like, you know, something I haven't seen and or from a different angle, make it feel different. And give me it from instead of the perspective of the main character, give me from the perspective of the villain you're fighting, you know? And that's fine as long as it's done tastefully.
No, 100%. I think, again, I do think that these things probably do actually exist to save animation budget, which is just unfortunate because I do feel like...
Is this like a tinfoil hat thing, or do you think that's actually true, though?
I think it has to be true. Because they literally do copy paste and then they put they...
interstitial.
Desaturate the footage and they're like, yeah, that's a memory. And remember this time? And it's like, wow, yeah, we just saw it. And they use it to buy time. And so that's my belief anyways.
But see, my question here is like, if this is true, right? Why not just cut it entirely? What is the reason for not just cutting that episode entirely and just going through the season faster?
My guess is that they probably have like a contract with the TV network of how much time they have to fill. So like they have to have X number of things. I don't know actually, like, mechanically what happens there, but like I assume it's a it's one of those things like when you buy spots for your show, you go, oh, we're going to make a 12 episode series and we need that much space from the TV network. And it's probably one of those things where like the timing of it is like, we don't actually know what's exactly going to happen in those episodes before they buy that contract. And then they just have to fill that. And if you cut an episode from the airtime, it probably is just like a big waste of money. And so they're probably just like,
like that makes sense, right? Because like I can see like, hey, we're contracting you for 9 episodes. You give me 8 episodes, that's not good. So we need to throw something in there. But and then I guess so from like okay, so yeah, like flashbacks are kind of annoying. And then I think I'm gonna go on to one more. This one's a little bit darker. I think like this one's a little bit darker, and in that incest.
Going back to no game, no life.
No game, no life. How come this is so common in anime? Like, can you not just like? I feel like I think this is just in a weird spot too. We as society too, like as you know. Not saying that I've ever been on an 18+ site or anything, but like that. But like you know, like, there's I've never heard of it, but like let's call it Bible studies. Like when I'm doing Bible studies or anything like that, you know, like it is kind of like hilariously weird that everything now is just like, why can't you just have siblings? You know, like it's like why is the idea of siblings sexualized? You can't escape it. And I mean like also just like on modern day TV, there's like characters are written like I get Luke and Leia. Sure, whatever. They didn't know, that's still kind of weird, but like whatever. Luke and Leia. But I still feel like often there's the way brothers and sisters are written, they're kind of like there's this tension there. And it's like, why are they always written that way? And this is very much still put on display in anime, like so much like on display in anime. And like I think one of the key things that I remember being a popular one of that season was Manga Sensei.
Yeah.
I watched, and the best part is I did not enjoy watching this, but I watched all of it, right? And I'm just like, why would I subject myself to this misery? I don't know. But I just sat there and I'm just like, why not just have them make out at this point? Like, just legitimately, why not just make them make out? Because that's what they've kind of hinted at that. They've insinuated the whole time. They've been like, oh, well, you know, there's a piece of paper between our 2 lips. You know what I mean? That's like essentially the tension, right? Like, oh, it's not kissing though. But you know, like, this is really weird. And is this a cultural thing? I mean, but no, because it's also here in America.
Yeah.
Like,
I was gonna say, like, step Nii-San. What are you doing? You know, it exists everywhere, and it's one of those things that like a lot of people with kind of what we talked about before too, with like the businessman and younger girl trope and Lolicons and the stuff, and like a lot of people try to attribute it like, yeah, it's like anime, but it's like, no, that stuff is everywhere now. And like it's not just anime that has it. So it's just, yeah, it's got to be this weird worldwide phenomenon where apparently step siblings are the hottest thing in town, and it's just strange. And like I get that a lot of fetishes exist because like it's like forbidden, right? And therefore the chase for something forbidden makes it like more erotic or something. But at some point we gotta just stop, man. We just gotta say, let's put a hard line. Like maybe no kids, maybe not our siblings or family members. Like
change that maybe to definitely not.
Yeah, like you know let's just stop, right? Let's just stop right there.
Yeah, and why is it so common? Like, I just don't understand. Like, the forbidden thing, what you're saying is why fantasies and whatnot exist, right? Like you know, fetishes and whatnot. But, like, when you're talking about media, and, like, you'd be like, well, why don't you just not watch it? And it's like, sure, I'm not going to watch it. But that doesn't stop it from bleeding into other media, right? Like, dude, eventually...
It's everywhere. Like, literally everywhere. Like, Sword Art Online... Oh, I thought that show was about video games and MMOs and not being able to. Like, oh, never mind. There's also a stepsister who's in love with Kirito. You know, like I got ambushed. You know, like I thought this was a show about something else, man, and then suddenly, boom.
Also, is it not true when you watch, like, whenever I watch these animes, or whenever you like, you probably the viewers and like the listeners at home can relate to this. Whenever you watch anime, you have a significant other, you have a parent, you have a sibling. They always come in and they always catch the worst part of every anime you see. And I'm like, example, like Xell, 90% of Sword Art Online, mostly like, very straightforward, right?
Yeah.
But then there's the weird little sister line or stepsister line. I'm like, ugh. But then of course, like I remember at a point I had an ex-girlfriend. She comes in and she's like, "Oh, what are you watching?" And it's literally the scene. I'm just like, God, I don't. I like, whatever.
I see why she's an ex now.
Yeah.
Broke up with you on the spot.
It's so annoying though. But like that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, like this needs to stop happening in anime, and it's not even like I can get away from it either. It's in everything. So for those listening and watching, just don't watch it. Huh? How? It creeps its way into every anime.
Oh God, yeah. I really don't know how and why like step sibling things became such a hot commodity in literature and media. Like I really don't understand. So if somebody knows why that's a thing, or if there's studies, like I'd be so curious why that's like become a thing and why it's so prevalent in today's media.
Yeah, like I cannot burn like a big enough hole in the back of my skull when I see these tropes.
Yeah. I mean, just the fact that like when I say, "Oh, steps, whatever," what are you doing? Like everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. And that's like, isn't that weird? If I was like, "Hey, little kids," and you found out that that's like directly like the fact that it's so prevalent that it's like a meme that everyone understands. That's gotta mean something, man. I don't know. Are we in the wrong here? Maybe we're just old. I don't know.
Oh my God! Please, I don't want. I am okay with being in the wrong here. Like,
is there gonna be a Tinder for stepchildren? Like,
oh my God, dude, that's so gross. Okay, like yeah, like see.
I don't know.
I mean, the Adventures of Tintin is not what you think it is. I'm telling you right now, these things are just like, please, like that is such a good point. The fact that you could just say that and we all know what you're getting at,
and don't even pretend that you don't know.
They're like, what are you talking about, bro? Like I was just watching football. No, like I mean, the thing here is, I don't know, like, how is it that we all know what that is, right? And like that's very, very concerning. And I think we all need to just get one good therapy session in and talk about let's just talk about it, right? Because this is a whole nother topic. But yeah, that is a very weird thing. And the point you just made there is even weirder.
It's good marketing, I guess. I don't know.
And so the next problematic thing before we go too deep down the hole, Xell, this one is like way more lighthearted. I would say this is a better one, right? Like one that isn't as dark and creepy, and you don't have to feel like you have to like wash yourself after talking about it a little bit. But what's another thing that seems problematic for you?
I guess like less than problematic, because we've talked about things that are very problematic. This one's pretty light on the list, but we've jumped from like extremely hard, dark topics to talk about to like. Yeah, I just hate when people explain too much on the side of the line. We've really jumped around here on this one, and we're about to do it again because we just talked about step siblings being like a sexual thing to now what I'm about to talk about is just miscommunication romance.
Get on this roller coaster of an episode. We've got ups and downs here, and you're here for all of it. All of it.
Yeah, so anyways, to round out our list, I was just gonna talk about how like so much romance these days are. I don't even feel like talking about this, man. Like this is so ridiculous. I should have put this earlier on my list. Like, why did I wait so long to talk about this one? So anyways, I was just gonna talk about how like so much rom-coms these days are like predicated on like really bad miscommunications. Man, okay,
Well, it does feel like a little lighter, you know, like
yeah, okay, you know, this does make things a little easier, but
yeah.
so yeah, I'd like the you know, I think of scenes kind of like quintessential quintuplets or Nozaki-kun where someone's like about to say like finally build up the courage and main character son, I
train noise. Yeah.
something happens. And it's like, what'd you say? And it's like, oh, nothing.
Yeah. Oh
like,
my.
And I'm like, oh my God, please. It's like those type of romance shows are literally just blue balls, the show, you know, like I just want to see some good-hearted communication. I mean, I again, this might be one of those things that like I'm old now, you know, I'm turning 30 this month and like I'm joining you, Crim, to the 30 club. 3-0, baby.
God, dude, don't remind me. I was just gonna let you just kind of cruise your way to 30.
Sorry.
I was gonna.
Let me just. Let me just.
I'm
drive
turning
by.
29 again. All right, so.
But anyways, like as I get older, I'm like I just want to see like wholesome like romances where people are just communicative and like it's fine to have problems, but like talk it out and like I feel like the the culmination.
I think that means we are old.
Yeah, I think that does mean old because I think
like,
when I was younger, I
this was cute.
Yeah, it wasn't just
right?
cute, but it felt more attuned to who I was back then, where it's like hard to talk about your feelings, and so like you wanted to do it in the most roundabout way of like maybe if I just like show up in this hallway every day at school at the same time, like maybe she'll notice, or like what if I just like sit kind of like at a perpendicular angle at like about 85 degrees, I'll be in her peripherals and she'll just like notice me, man. you know like people when you're a kid you're just like so roundabout and you can't, it's hard for you to specifically talk about it, but now that I'm older I feel like I just want to and that's where like shows like Wotakoi are so amazing because they're just like adults who just talk about things. And I think what's funny is like I wrote down Gamers as a show where it's like the whole show is like predicated on it, but that show's almost amazing because of how bad the miscommunications are. So I wonder,
it took talent to like legitimately write that level of a miscommunication.
Yeah,
like, you know,
100%.
it's like it's so poorly miscommunicated that it's good. Like,
it's like, somehow gone all the way full circle around that.
It's a lot like it's like the reverse of Breaking Bad, where you want to see Walter White and all these characters like that dig themselves out of the hole. This one, the art is watching them go into the hole and go farther and get more creative on how to get farther into the hole.
Yeah.
And so like this, I think maybe this is just because, you know, like these miscommunication things now also like kind of like they're like, oh, they kind of like drive this little like slow burn on me, right? I'm just like, oh, stop, you know, like I can't handle this anymore. And maybe it's because we're older, right? Like we're all like yo, when you're 30 and if you're listening to this and you're not 30 yet, dude, communication's hot, dude. Like that's
communication's
like,
so f***ing hot, man. Oh,
like,
sorry,
that's the sexiest thing I've ever heard in my life, right? Like communication, right? Bed Bath and
Communication,
Beyond,
consent.
babe,
Ooh.
let's go.
Oh, hit me with that. It's the CNCs, man. Communication, consent. Oh, that is so hot.
Is that hot? Is this 30, dude? Like, oh my god, communication. Like I don't know, memory foam.
Memory foam. Yeah, and back problems.
Back problems.
Oh yeah, nothing hot like realigning my spinal cord.
Oh, babe, say realigning my spinal cord. But slower. But like legitimately, I think that's probably why these are more like of a nuisance to us, because you know when you think about it, like I thought it was cute as hell back then, right? Like because I can't develop. My communication skills they're not even developed now. So
Yeah, it's still something I'm working on.
yeah, I'm still working on it, but I'm at least somewhat farther than that, right? And I get why it's there, and maybe this is just something that's it's not meant for us.
No,
It's not
100%.
meant for the old guys, right? But the thing here is,
I'm like that jaded guy with the cigarette, and I'm just like, those young kids don't know what they're doing, and like, just,
old man Xell yells at clouds again.
drinking my whiskey and smoking cigarettes, just like stupid kids.
What are you talking about? Drinking your kombucha, lying on a memory foam to communicating.
Wait, actually, 50 years from now, will the Zoomers be like smoking their vapes, be like, and their White Claws, and like that's the old guy thing now?
Yeah.
That's actually really funny to think about. That's what when Zoomers are old, when the Zoomers become the new Boomers.
But then I have to imagine, when we consider ourselves older anime people, right? There's the decade of fanime and anime convention goers before me, right? And they're
What
just
are those guys doing?
They're probably laughing at us hysterically. Oh, don't worry, they'll understand, right? So I mean, and miscommunications though. Once again, to tie it all back, I think if they're a lot of the miscommunications seem more annoying than funny than cute.
I just get
However,
frustrated.
yeah, you get. By the way, as funny and as we're saying this, it is pretty funny that we there was even a miscommunication between Xell and I. I thought it was kind of humorous. We had something planned and we did it wrong because we were both on two separate pages, and I'm just like, are we just anime?
Are we? This is our anime moment.
Are we just? Is this old dude anime? Can we make old dude anime? Yo, bro, I thought we were meeting at coffee at Starbucks 1, not Starbucks 2, bro.
Oh,
you said
sorry,
Starbucks though. So yeah, miscommunications are kind of a weird thing, but yeah, pretty common. As much as I think about it now, it's maybe they are real. You know what I mean? There are some tropes in shows, TV, and all that. I'm just we kind of write it off as a joke, right? And it doesn't. When it's dumb, it would never happen. But just literally right now, we're just talking about maybe some of those are real. So
yeah, I think the thing is with miscommunication romance is when it feels believable, it's fine. But when it's just so absurd, well, yeah. Again, it's with all these tropes we've talked about. Well, not all the tropes. The ones that aren't incest and sexual assault and lollies and whatnot. A lot of them is about the execution of it, right? And I think this is definitely one where miscommunications obviously happen all the time. It's just how it's done is the art, and making it feel either so absurd like gamers where it's just it's hilarious. Yeah. Or it I don't know.
Fully agree. But yeah, so I mean, those are pretty much our most things that we kind of just feel take away from our anime viewing experiences. So if you're watching, if you're listening to this, this about wraps it up. This has been one hell of a roller coaster of an episode. We've got the darkest of the dark, and then you have miscommunication.
God. Yeah, weighing these tropes.
The tropes are very much on the two opposite sides of problematic, right? But are there any tropes that you find, if you're watching or you're listening to this at home, let us know which ones bother you, which ones do you think we could see less of, and come on, tell me some of y'all understand what I mean when I say Tsunderes. They are getting annoying. Right? So
I'm a Tsundere apologist, so I'm sorry.
I mean, you have no reason to ever yell at me for Zenitsu. I'm just going to say
what?
Right?
What? That is two very different things. But yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I would love to see other people please comment on the YouTube. I would love to see what tropes bother you guys as well, and if there's any ones that you think that we've very clearly missed, or even ones that you guys completely disagree with us on, I'm also open to hearing about that as well. Besides sexual
There are
assault
some,
and
that
incels,
I'm like, I don't think I need to hear a counter argument to, but like, yeah.
But yeah, well, please comment on the YouTube, like, comment, all that stuff. And yeah, that was the episode. So thanks for watching.
Thank you for following and subscribing and all that too. Thanks for listening, everyone.
All right. See you guys next week.